What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's transfer tips ahead of game week 32. So as always, we're going to look through some popular players that have been transferred in or out by FPL managers and give you my opinion on whether I think it's a good idea, who you might want to bring in instead, whether it's the right time to take someone out as well. So do give it a like if you enjoy it. Hit that subscribe button if you're new around here as well. We are going to start off with Kieran Tierney. Now, this one's a pretty obvious one, right? Yes, he should be sold. I don't think it's been officially announced by the club yet. I don't think we've heard from Arteta, but there's loads of rumours going around, loads of journalist reports that he's out for the season, right? And it's hugely frustrating, obviously, from an Arsenal point of view, but for anyone that owns him, which I have myself, like he's in my team. Brighton at home was looking really good. Obviously, game week 33 was a double, and then you could have decided what to do with him for the rest of the season, bearing in mind he did have another double coming up. But yes, he's got to be sold. What I will quickly say before we talk about who the best replacements might be, he's in my team, for example. He is red flagged now. I can easily just play Trent this week, who I was a bit unsure about benching anyway. So it doesn't mean just because he's in your team, you have to get rid of him this week, because I think a lot of people, when they look at players to bring in, are going to be looking at the likes of Cancelo or Laporte maybe, and obviously Man City play Liverpool. Now, if there's a reason for you to make that move, for example, some people might want to take out Tierney so they can free up a different spot for an Arsenal player like Martinelli, perhaps, maybe Lacazette. I don't know why many people will be bringing him in, but you get the idea. They might need to free up that Arsenal spot, which might mean that it's worth bringing in one of the Man City boys this week. But if you're like me and you have a bench and you're not too worried about players missing out and therefore getting down to kind of 9 or 10 players, then I think you can possibly just skip doing that this week and just maybe hold that transfer one more week, go into game week 33 with 2 free transfers and then kind of decide what to do. But ultimately, long term, Cancelo and Laporte look pretty good. Now, as always, right, and I hate to say it, we're going to have to do it for the rest of the season. Chip strategy is going to play a big part in this. Like, if you've got no chips left, then okay, Man City only double once, but their fixtures outside of that double and outside of the Liverpool game are pretty damn good, right? We're talking like Leeds, Watford, they've still got to play. I think they've got to play Newcastle as well. It's pretty good, right? And obviously they've got the double too. So Cancelo and Laporte are the obvious picks for me. I think Cancelo, if you can afford it at 7 million, is the one. I did want to just go through some other picks as well. Like, there are a lot of defenders you could look at bringing in for Tierney. One thing I don't think I would do is bringing another Arsenal defender, because although on paper it looks pretty good, I don't think it's an awful call, especially if you're wildcarding in game week 34, because Brighton at home, even with Tierney out, even with possibly Partey out as well, I'm sure Arsenal can keep a clean sheet. And then they do have the double. So I don't think it's an awful decision to bring in an Arsenal defender. But long term, missing Tierney is going to be huge, especially if Tomiyasu isn't back anytime soon. They might have to play Xhaka there. They might even have to, I don't know, switch formation and start playing Saka as a wing-back. I don't know. I don't think that will happen, but there are possibilities, because right now they've just got Cedric, and Tavares just hasn't looked that good. The last 2 games, Tavares has been subbed off at like half-time and 35 minutes. That's not a good sign of what your manager thinks about your capabilities as a left-back. It may turn around that they just give him a go and give him a chance to prove himself, and he is very cheap, Tavares, but I just wouldn't go there. So I think for most people, Arsenal defender is probably not the one, right? Because Man United and West Ham away aren't even great fixtures anyway. So yeah, outside of the Man City boys, I quite like Justin. Got double game week double game week in 33, decent enough fixture this week, double in 36, double in 37. For somebody without any chips left, I think Leicester players look pretty good, right? Their overall transfers are pretty... Their overall fixtures are pretty decent. I think if you can get to Schmeichel, that might be a better option, because he's pretty much nailed, and I do think there'll be some rotation with Leicester players around Europe and stuff like that. But Palace at home's okay. Double game week. Villa at home's okay. Game week 35 is probably the tough one. Spurs away. Then it's double. Everton and Norwich really good. Watford and Chelsea not quite as good, but still a double. And then they end with Southampton. So I do like Justin as an outside shot. Matip. Don't laugh about Matip, right? If you can't afford Robertson and Trent, Matip's played a lot of minutes in the league this year. I don't think he'll play every single game for the rest of the season, but I think Konate started in the Champions League, so you'd imagine Matip starts against Man City, and they are going to play him more often than not. I don't think Konate's going to get a huge amount of games in the league, so even if you've got a good bench and he misses out the odd game here or there, 5 million is pretty cheap. Like, he's done pretty well this season. I still think Spurs players in general are just good options, because the fixtures are just really good. And even if you had to play Doherty in game week 36 for the double, I know it's Liverpool and Arsenal, but it ain't the end of the world because you get loads of good fixtures outside of that. So again, maybe for someone with a lack of chips left, Doherty at 4.9 could be good. And then you got Roberts for Burnley, obviously double in 33, another double later on. I do think I prefer most of the other defenders on this list, but if you want someone cheap, you could look at him as well. But if you've got Tierney, let me know below who you are going for. Like I said, there is a lot of players that you could go for, a lot of different defenders at different kind of levels of price. I don't know. I quite like Justin if you've got no chips. Otherwise, obviously, Cancelo and Laporte look really good. I just don't know if you have to do it this week. You could wait till game week 33. So Jarrod Bowen's not just back, he is back with a bang. He played against Everton in game week 31, 1 goal, 1 assist, 13 points. It's what he's done all season, right? He's brilliant. 75,000 managers have already brought him in, and a lot of people have kind of left me messages or comments on videos, live stream messages, tweets and whatnot. Why are you not thinking about Bowen? Why are you not talking about him more? So here we are talking about him, but I'm just going to come right out and say it. I have got almost zero interest in buying Jarrod Bowen. I think it's way too short term of a move when you could be looking at doing other interesting things. If, again, you're maybe on a game week 34 wildcard, then yeah, maybe you bring him in for Brentford and Burnley. But again, would you not like take the risk or the punt, whatever word you want to use, and just go for a Leicester player instead with Crystal Palace and a double game week? Okay, there is a chance that they maybe miss more minutes than Bowen, and ultimately they play a similar amount of minutes, but I'd rather take the punt that they play more, right? And just have a better chance. And I think the problem with West Ham is they've got European matches in the Europa League, right? And how massive would that be if David Moyes could go on and win that, right? I think it's obviously going to be difficult. Barcelona, etc., is still in the competition. But imagine if he could do that. And I don't necessarily think that means that Bowen kind of misses out in the league because top four is still on, right? Again, it looks unlikely that they're going to get top four because there's other teams around them with more games in hand. Their fixture run's also pretty difficult. Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City from 34 to 37, which is one of the reasons I don't want to go for Bowen. But the problem is Bowen's only just back from injury. He went off at 69 minutes against Everton. Are his minutes going to be managed over the next couple of games? So even if you get something from Brentford and Burnley, I then think you'll be looking to move him on. So again, classic cliche, I'm going to say a lot, right? If you're on the game week 34 wildcard, yes, possibly you could look at him, but surely someone like Maddison and or Barnes is a little bit more interesting to bring in. If you've already got one of them, you could even opt to maybe bring the other one in. I think Kulusevski, for example, if you don't already own him and you're not tripled up on Spurs, okay, maybe not quite as good as an option in isolation versus Bowen, but no Europe to contend with, will start every single game, probably get 75 plus minutes in all of those games as well, and just has a better fixture run and has doubles to come up. So I think Bowen, it's just the wrong time. He's been brilliant this season. We've had a great time with him in our teams, plenty of FPL points, a lot of you captained him in the double over Antonio, happy days. I just think from now to the rest of the season, he's probably not going to be too much of an option. So Coutinho's been a bit of a fun one, right? And I feel like I'm always thinking the opposite to other people when it comes to Coutinho. So back in game week 28, you'll remember, a lot of people were looking at Rafinha versus Coutinho, both to bring in and to captain. And I said Rafinha, and it massively backfired. Rafinha blanked, and Coutinho went on to get, I think it was 20 plus points, right? So he was excellent. Then I was asked in game week 29, who would I keep if I could only keep one? And I stuck to my gun, said I would keep Rafinha. Since then, Coutinho has blanked every single time he's played. And now a lot of people are looking to remove him because fair enough, right? It's Spurs and then a blank game week. He's already been transferred out by 100,000 managers. And yet I'm sat here thinking, is there a case to keep Coutinho, right? Now, again, a lot of this is going to depend on team setup. And again, if you were looking to do Coutinho to Maddison or Coutinho to Barnes, and it doesn't mean that you're having to bench another really good player, then fair enough, right? You probably make that move because although Coutinho has future doubles, so do Maddison, so do Barnes, and they are going to be kind of key players. Again, Kulusevski, players like that could also be really good. After game week 34, Foden's going to be decent as well. But for someone that doesn't have chips or many chips left, I think there is a case to be made to think about keeping him. Again, if you can put out a decent enough squad in 32 and 33, more importantly, when he blanks, I don't expect him to get too much against Spurs, and obviously I don't expect him to get anything in game week 33. But although Leicester is, and I've had Leicester pretty much down as a pink fixture the whole way through, if they do rotate a little bit because of Europe and stuff like that, I don't know if they will in game week 34, to be fair, but that defence has not been watertight all season. Fofana, Justin being back, Castagna being back is going to make a big difference, but I don't think that fixture would massively put me off having someone like Coutinho or someone from Aston Villa. Then they got Norwich at home in game week 35, one of the best fixtures you can get, and then we're into 2 doubles back to back. And okay, Liverpool at home is not easy, but outside of that, you have Burnley, Crystal Palace, and then Burnley again. And I think Coutinho is a massive kind of showing that kind of fixtures do matter. Now, it doesn't always work out that fixtures matter, right? Some players can have really bad fixtures and keep smashing it, and vice versa, but they're usually a good indicator. And again, if we kind of go back to, or have a quick look at him, if I click on Aston Villa instead of Arsenal, there were a couple of fixtures where he didn't do that well in, but he smashed it against Leeds. And okay, Newcastle and Watford, not great that he didn't get anything there. Brighton's tough-ish. Maybe not recently, but it's not necessarily the easiest game. And then he smashed it again against Southampton, Leeds. And then he's blanked against West Ham, Arsenal and Wolves. But I don't think that's to be kind of completely unexpected, right? They're all decent teams. So I look back at this and just think, okay, not much against Spurs, a blank in 33. But if you can get through that, if you've got a decent enough squad to do it, and I'm talking about people without chips, right? I'm not looking to bring him in, right, as a non-owner, of course. I'm specifically talking about people that already own him. That fixture run from 34 to 37, where you have 6 games and only Liverpool is really, really tough. Norwich, Burnley twice, and Crystal Palace. That just looks pretty good to me, and I think he will start to get points. His underlying numbers are pretty good so far this season. Obviously, it's on a very small sample size, so you have to take that into account. But I think we know the quality of Coutinho, right? He is going to create chances, and more importantly, his kind of expected goals are always a bit higher than his expected assists, and goals are worth more than assists, so happy days, right? So, yeah, I'm actually thinking of maybe bringing him in, game week 34 or 35, depending on which transfer strategy I go with. And yeah, if I owned him, I would just maybe consider keeping. I don't think you have to. Again, it's all going to depend on your transfer strategy, Madison Barnes, etc. Just to repeat myself quickly, all good options from 32. But if you've got the squad to get through it, 34 onwards, if you've got no chips, it looks pretty good. So Ivan Toney's starting to pick up a little bit of interest now. 70,000 transfers in. I was a little bit surprised because he did blank against Leicester and only got 1 assist in the last game week, but it was against Chelsea, right? And you expect that players, most of your players, whoever they are, to blank against Chelsea. So that was nice. But more importantly, I guess, is that they won 4-1, and that has put Brentford back on the map. Eriksen's playing week in, week out, playing really well, helping them tick over. I got Eriksen completely wrong, to be honest. I did not think he'd be back in this soon, playing this many minutes and this many matches, but fair enough. We all love to see it, right? The problem is the fixtures just aren't great from 32 to 35. The end of season fixtures are pretty good. It's Southampton, Everton, and they got Leeds at home, but there's no double game weeks to come anywhere. Now, I don't necessarily think that is a massive problem, and the reason for that is Toney is a forward, and there aren't too many great forward options that aren't called Harry Kane. Obviously, his price is just massive compared to Toney, right? It's 5+ million. Nearly 5 million more, right? So for that reason, and the fact that people keep talking about moving to kind of 4-5-1, 4-4-2, 5-4-1, whatever it might be, you only have to play one forward every week, obviously, if you go for that strategy. So, you could play him against Watford and then maybe play some of your other forwards in other matches. So I don't think it's the end of the world, especially if you're looking to downgrade a player. Some of you might be looking to kind of downgrade Lacazette to get some money out of that position, for example, or whichever player it is. I don't necessarily think it's a great time to sell Lacazette because of the double in 33, but longer term it could be worth getting more money out of those forward slots. So Toney's not a bad option, but I just think you're really looking at that Watford game, and that is about it for the next 4, and just hoping that he nicks something in some of the other matches. The only thing I will say to kind of counter my own point is, if I look at the forward list here, like, there just are so few options, right? Dennis didn't start the last game. When he scored 1 goal since game week 21. Like, him and Josh King have just been both really awful. Only 12 minutes against Liverpool. Pukki, to be fair, maybe not a bad option, right? He's a bit cheaper than Toney. In the next kind of few game weeks, he's got Burnley, Newcastle and Villa, which is probably a bit easier than Toney. And like Toney, he's on penalties, will play 90 minutes week in, week out. Does have a double game week in 36 as well. And he'll save you some money. So he could be an option. Even in the short term, St. Maximin for 0.1 million more has got Wolves and then a double game week in Leicester and Crystal Palace, and then in 34 plays Norwich. So I'd probably rather have him as well, which is why I think that Toney, like, I can see why people are doing it. And I think Brentford, they're not completely free of relegation. Even if they do get mathematically safe, I still think they're absolutely going to go for it, right? They're in the Premier League. Why would you not, right up until the end of the season? Eduard's obviously not playing. Mateta could be an option as well, possibly, although I don't think his minutes are necessarily 100% secure. So there aren't too many players here, but I think there are a few players that are maybe better options. Pukki, because you save some money, better fixtures short term, and St. Maximin with that double straight away in game week 33. So I think maybe you go for one of them and then possibly look to get get Tony later on. It's just, again, it's that double game week situation where he just doesn't have any, and that does put him maybe slightly less valuable than other players. And it's not like you're, you know, skipping Tony and going for some player that's hardly going to play. Like St. Maximin, you know, if he's fit, should play the next 3 fixtures. Pukki should be fine as well. And I just think in the short term, there may be slightly better options. So I like Tony for that Watford game, but I think after that, you're not really going to massively want to play him until game week 36. And I don't think he's so cheap that he's going to enable you to do loads of other stuff. So I'm going to say 70,000 managers, you're not making a massive mistake. But again, I do think there are better options out there. If you enjoyed that video, please do give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. I'll be back with team selection tomorrow. We will have a game week preview before the deadline as well, and as well as a deadline stream, of course, on Friday. So please do look forward to that. I'll leave it there. Give it a like, hit subscribe. I'll see you again soon.